100.1 FM.
Well, everyone's concerned about making the dollar go a bit further at the moment. I share your concern, everybody. And we've got a gentleman here who understands where we're at and why we look for alternatives as far as credit goes. Dan Javenski is money expert and CEO of WeMoney. Dan, good afternoon to you.
Great to be with you again, Jenny.
Pardon? Sorry, Dan?
Oh, great to be with you again.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Look, I think the concentration at the moment on how everyone's going to survive, I mean, a lot will, don't get me wrong, but we're thinking of the downside for so many trying to struggle. They are struggling and worried about things, I suppose, anxiety. And with credit cards, a lot of people are still using them and thinking, well, I'll deal with that when it happens, and looking for alternatives, aren't they?
Yes, that's right, Jenny. And this time of the year is a really big time for banks and financial institutions to start offering these very lucrative offers for 0% balance transfer credit cards. Now, what does that mean? All it means is that if you've got an existing credit card, you can transfer that balance to a new credit card and enjoy an interest-free period, in some cases of up to 24 months, not paying any interest. You, of course, do have to pay the principal, but there is some, hidden components to these offers that consumers should be aware about.
Yes, well, when I read the information that you've sent through to us, terms and conditions running up to 40 pages to read through, and you say you can't blame everybody for not looking at the fine print.
Well, that's right, Jenny. And really the crux of the issue is that people that have got multiple credit cards will typically find it very difficult to make repayments on those. And the 0% balance transfer offers might sound like an enticing proposition to them. But one of the catches of these 0% balance transfer offers is that studies show, and from Australia's top regulator, that it found that about 30% of consumers actually increase their debt by 10% or more after transferring their existing credit cards to that 0% balance transfer offer, which is a pretty, big number when you consider that if your main goal and purpose is to reduce your expenses, but you end up increasing your expenses after that balance transfer period, obviously that can have a big, financial impact. So consumers may benefit from not paying interest, which in some cases can be about 20 to 30% on a credit card, but that reckoning could come back again to bite them at a much higher rate when that 0% balance transfer expires, and they actually end up with a higher debt balance as opposed to a lower debt balance.
I'm trying to work this out. How the heck? So what they're saying is when they resume back to normal charging you interest at a higher rate, they can add on a higher amount of interest?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, the way it goes, Jenny, is essentially, all you're doing is getting a new credit card. So you've got 3 credit cards, you put them into one balance transfer offer, so you've got one new shiny card, but that doesn't stop you from making more purchases on that credit card.
Okay.
So if you get approved for a higher limit, you can still actually use that credit card as you would with all the credit cards you had before in the past, but that can obviously lead to people getting into more debt. And so you have this false sense of security that you're paying less interest on those credit cards. But if you keep using that credit card, like you did your other 3 previous credit cards, that could actually leave you in a worse off position.
Yeah, I get what you're saying as a result of what they've done, but I'm trying to work out why have they got that increased interest? Is it on the purchases that they've made since they've changed to this bank?
Yeah.
Right, if you could just define that for us.
Yeah, of course. So in summary, people that go onto a 0% balance transfer card don't pay any interest on the balance itself. So you've got to
as it stands, the balance current.
As it stands, correct.
Okay.
And you get 2 years interest free, but you will start paying interest on that full balance after that 2-year period.
Cheeky.
And you could also pay more interest because you spent more on that card during that interest-free period, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does now. I was trying to work out how they could do that without you knowing that. But if you make the new the new purchases, that's where the higher interest will come in at the end of the time you've got it interest-free.
Yes, that's right, Jenny. And so it does catch consumers sort of off guard because it's difficult. I mean, you and I have just spent the last 2-3 minutes trying to figure it out ourselves.
Yes.
We were confused. Just imagine the poor old consumer sitting behind this fancy new credit card and trying to figure this all out for themselves. It can get quite confusing. But in summary, I think there are some practical tips that if consumers are in a situation where they have got credit card balances, there are a few strategies they can use in order to maximise the benefit for them and pursue a pathway to becoming debt-free, or consider other alternatives. If you do go down the pathway of obtaining a 0% balance transfer credit card, what consumers can do to reduce their overall debt burden is to make the payments so the balance of the credit card goes down to zero over that interest-free period.
That makes sense.
So in summary, in that way, you're not paying any interest, but you're actually getting rid of the debt and hopefully achieving, other benefits by using that card. Or alternatively, there are other options where consumers can go to a debt consolidation personal loan, where they consolidate that existing credit card debt into a personal loan that doesn't have a redraw facility and gets them out of debt over a period of time.
Okay, self-control obviously is something that everyone should have when it comes to borrowing money. And what you're suggesting here is there's two options. Good, go to a personal loan if possible. Get rid of the debt, get it right down, and don't make any new purchases. That's what you're suggesting.
That is spot on, Jenny.
Yeah.
The main goal here is for people to get out of debt and become debt-free, and they can use these products to their benefit, but just be aware of the pitfalls of not spending on that credit card if you don't trust yourself with a new piece of plastic.
The horrible situation, the reality at the moment, Dan, is that people are just struggling to pay bills. So they probably think, oh my gosh, I'm going to lay awake all night if I don't pay that bill tomorrow. So they use the credit card regardless if they even know or don't know that that's going to increase the interest rate when the honeymoon is over. So, there's a bit of desperation at the moment. So going to a personal loan, if you could, is probably the answer.
Well, a personal one, you just don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about your own self-control. You've got a set repayment. You might be paying interest on that balance, but, in the long run, what you do know is that there is a finite date as long as you make the repayments. With a credit card, it's completely optional. And to the point you just made, Jenny, life happens to everybody. Everybody's going to encroach a situation at some point in the future where that temptation is going to be heightened because they have access to that money and they feel like it's an easy solution. But if you don't have that temptation in the first place, then you don't have to worry about putting yourself in that situation.
Yeah, good advice. That really is, Dan. Thank you very much indeed. I mean, I don't think people are going to pull out the 40-page instruction manual or what the deal to read through it and highlight it, and they should be at the top of the page, shouldn't it, on page 1?
It should be. It really should just be very clearly spelled out to the borrower, and also explained about what the borrower's objectives are. If the borrower's objective is to get out of debt, then how could they use that potential facility in order to achieve that goal? And then the bank or financial institution making that very clear to the end borrower about what they need to do in order to achieve that goal. And I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Well, I just think the bank should have a little bit of emotion about this and perhaps, explain to people that this is the risk if they keep purchasing in the honeymoon period, because it's can't they take some responsibility here and explain things properly to people?
Yes, it needs to be more human. It needs to be more easy to understand. I completely agree, Jenny. And whilst there's people that are on struggle street, there are a lot of people, mind you, who are doing really well, who are simply just transferring balances from card to card and not paying any interest. Constantly. And doing that as well. But look, every financial product can work for people if it's done correctly.
I know.
But if you're in that situation where you just don't have that self-control, and I'm the first person to put my hand up in those situations as well. We're not alone, Jenny, in this world with people that are in that situation. And consider what is right for you in terms of becoming debt-free. That's the resounding message. I
feel for people who have no choice. They've got to pay a bill on time. But anyway, thank you very much for your expertise, Dan. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jenny. Pleasure with you again.
There you go. Temptation.
Curtin Radio.